we got the Bills at the Ravens. The Ravens are -2.5. So again, they're feeling kind of neutral on this one. When the Bills have the ball, the Bills offense versus the Ravens defense, what are you checking out, Charles McDonald?
The middle of the field. That's where I think that this game can be won for the Bills offense. I still, like, over for the long haul, am not all that concerned about the Ravens defense. I think they just have too many good players, but they are going through like a little bit of some of the transition problems that they went through when they first hired Mike Macdonald, because, we all know how it ended, where they had one of the best defenses of the 2000s last year. But when it started, remember, Tua had 6 touchdowns in Baltimore in a comeback victory when they were up by like 1 million points, and they came back and they had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle running uncovered like 60 yards down the field.
Yep.
Obviously, that's got fixed. It's
you never
want
to you never want to see the safety look like a pitcher that just gave up a home run, where they're either going like this, like looking over their head, or they go like this and look straight down when that ball goes over their hair. And we saw both of them in that game.
And then it's the why I oughta,
the hands up, because they want to make sure the TVs catch them. It's not my fault.
Not my fault. It's his fault. Actually, then they get to the post game. Actually, no, it was my fault.
It was my fault. Actually, yeah.
It's not that drastic. But I will say, I think, I think some of like their middle of the field stuff is not being quite up to their standard. I don't think, Roquan Smith in coverage, I don't really know, like when you look at coverage stats, like how much you should really just like automatically assign that to Roquan, because a lot of it's just like nearest defender stuff, stuff like that. But
like Wallingham and stuff like that. Yeah.
He did give up like 80 yards of coverage against the Cowboys, which is like, hey, you're better than that. And I think this defense as a whole is better than that. So I think the middle of the field is where this game is really going to matter, because James Cook has evolved into, a pretty, tough running back to play against. The offensive line's good. We all know Josh Allen's playing the best quarterback in the league right now. So we all know like that's where they want to attack this defense if they can, because I think on the outside, that's where it would get tough if you're for the Bills, because now we got, Keon Coleman going against like Marlon Humphrey and some of those other veteran DBs. I think you probably want to see if you can just attack the middle of the field and try to keep the game in front of you.
Yeah, I think the Bills are going to, and Josh Allen, it's going to be kind of more of the same, where it's a lot of nickel dime. It's a lot of, but Josh Allen's performing like, late career Drew Brees. So that's all good. Like usually I'd be like, I don't like that, but nope, that's fine. I think that's what you have to do. I think the Ravens are going to try and run everything, kaleidoscope scheme, just hey, do this, just to try and get Allen guessing at one point or fool him at one point. He has a lot of control now, so it's been pretty cool to watch him kind of dissect things. The Ravens run defense has been good, but they played the Cowboys and the Raiders. So that's one of those where it's like, I do think I think they're like, they rate highly in like success rate and stuff like that, but I think it's more they're a step down from that. Actually, it's more what they looked like maybe against the Chiefs. But I think that, Travis Jones is playing well up front, but again, I agree with you that this middle of the field passing game or run game wise is how you kind of get them. You try to get them being funky and you catch them, or you wad it up. But I think the Bills attack, like shout out Joe Brady. I really want to say, like, he really has my respect now. He did some cool stuff with the Panthers, but I kind of was like, all right, too many choice routes for my liking. But I will say that he is, even though he has a passing game background, he's willing to just pound it. He doesn't chase the siren song and the stats of they come when you have a good offense. Those stats come naturally. I think a lot of play callers kind of always forget that. They chase those touchdowns and yards. Yeah, I get it. They want to have jobs. But I hate it also as a son of an offensive line coach and a guy that went to Wisconsin. But he keeps dialing up the run after the run. Okay, maybe a screen, a bubble. He never chases the dragon. He never chases like, oh, okay, here we go. And I think the design plays have been really good. So I do want to give him his props. Him and the offensive line coach. I think it's Aaron, what's his face? Aaron Cromer.
Sounds about right.
Aaron Cromer. Shout out to him too. He's doing a fantastic job. But I think this is gonna be fun.
The Joe Brady stuff is interesting because I didn't really. I felt like I was agnostic for the most part because. I mean, you have the LSU offense, and people there were like, "Well, how much is he responsible for this?" And my thing was, "Man, you got 2 Hall of Fame wide receivers. All right, let's see what happens when you move forward." And then the Panther stuff was, I feel like the towards the end of the Matt Rule tenure with Tepper, it just got sloppy and messy and like it always has for the past couple of years with them. So you don't really know there. And then when he got to Buffalo, like basically, I guess since the run game kind of caught on last year, I think he's really figured out what he wants this offense to look like and how it can be structured and how he can fit everything. Like you have what can be a good run game without Josh Allen, and now you have Josh Allen with that too. I think he's layered everything well, while also, dealing with the real fact that, hey, we are counting on rookies and young players at skill spots, and they're just going to have to step up because our quarterback's good enough to win a Super Bowl. And I think he's done a really good job of just meshing all of that.
And there's something too, like their pass catchers that are like kind of all B-level guys, but they're all smart. They're all willing to kind of sort of get physical. Dalton Kincaid will get physical against a DB, not so much a linebacker or DN, but Shakir will, Keon Coleman will, Mac Hollins will. They do the dirty work for each other. And I think the answer to like slow down this offense is run man coverage, but you won't do that against Josh Allen because he'll just scramble out of it and get 10 yards a pop. And you can't do that. So they're going to get a lot of zone, and they got a lot of guys that can beat zone. And I've talked to Matt about this week, and then I just think that they're built. They have a lot of answers, and then when they don't have answers, they have the guy that's playing like MVP right now. So they're rolling right now.
Basically, just think of like how you described Josh Allen in this segment. Late career Drew Brees that also runs a 4.5. Okay.
Yep. At 240 pounds.
240 pounds, he can throw it over the moon. Gotcha.
And he's handling protections. I know I was on Mina's show this week and I said that. I was like, what? Like, are we grasping what we're watching right now? Like, it's that David Montgomery create the running back kind of thing. But now we're doing it with a quarterback right here. I mean, mentally and physically. But going up to the other side of the ball, also interesting. Both units finding their way. Bills defense is playing quite well, but the Ravens offense, Bills defense. What are you checking out, Charles, when you watch this?
I guess I just want to see, can the Ravens feel like they can assemble like a semblance of a drop back game if they need to play from behind? Because last week was obviously their dream. Their Cowboys are super soft on the interior. You just get to absolutely mow them down. You run 45 times. Lamar Jackson throws 15 passes for like 12 yards a pop. That's what they want to do. Obviously, I think Lamar Jackson he's won 2 MVP, so he can handle like a bigger passing palette than what they put forth last week. But that's like the ideal game for them, because at the end of the day, like Lamar Jackson being able to use his legs, like that's way different than most quarterbacks. Like you're not looking at that as like a dead play or negative play. Usually it's something really good for you. So I just want to see if the Bills come out scoring and they get into a situation where they have to drop back and throw it, like basically do they have the personnel to kind of figure that out? Because I would question there's offensive line's ability to hold up against the Bills pass rush. Like if it gets to that point where you're down by 7, you're down by 10 in third and fourth quarter, and now you got Von Miller and Ed Oliver coming after you, that's a tough proposition.
It helps how week one felt.
Yeah.
There's just Lamar running, which is like, it's dangerous, but you don't want that.
You don't want that all the time. Yeah. Because disaster can strike on those plays too.
Yep.
But I think just the evolution, or if they have the next step on the drop back passing game, that would be really interesting to watch for this game, because I don't really think that they have the advantage in terms of like wide receiver talent versus DB talent in this game. Even though I don't really know if like the Bills are really doing anything crazy in terms of like their talent right now, because they're still in a transition period on that side. It's just you're still relying a lot on Lamar and Derrick, and we'll see what happens when they get into this game.
Yeah, you basically nailed it for me as well as how I see this game. I hope we both nail it. Otherwise, then we both look like fools. But I think it's the Bills. The Bills are going to go light bodies, and that's what they do. They go they match nickel to everything. And last week, Ravens are going I formation. Pat Ricard, 290-pound fullback with Derrick Henry behind him. And that was what was working. And I think that's what they kind of have to do this game. I'm totally with you. I think the Bills have the advantage when the Ravens have to pass the ball, because I think this is kind of the annoying defense to go against for this offense. I just kind of mentioned the other side where it's like, oh, all these Bills guys are B's pluses. Josh Allen's performing well against them. They protect well against it. Like the Ravens are more chaotic against zone. That's when it gets into Lamar can kind of maybe get into creation mode a little too quickly, because he doesn't have the biggest receiving core. And his big guy, Mark Andrews, they're like barely playing at this point in time because he's not the best blocker and he's not, he's battling some stuff, it seems like. But that tight ends, I think, have to show up because that's where you want to attack this defense. They're running around the zone, so those intermediate short areas. Lamar's willing to chuck it in those spots. It's just that it has to feel comfortable. I'm glad you mentioned the Bills pass rush, though. Like they can still do it. Ed Oliver and all them, they can do it. So I think they do have an advantage, but I do think the Ravens can run the ball because they have the size. So it's a game script game. Totally. I mean, I think you kind of nailed it at the beginning. It's totally a game script game. I did like the Rashad Bateman touchdown design. That was fun. Yeah. Did you see the route? It was it was like a question mark. It was like the Riddler route. That's what I'm going with on that one. I'm trying to remember what we called that. We called that a spinnaker at one place I was at.
You know what I was
because it wasn't like a sail and a spinnaker, I guess, is like a
whenever we were talking about offense, I was
I know. How many routes do you know? Go, slant.
That was, it's funny because we've talked a lot about like the hubris of football players. Like when you're in it, I learned a lot of like route stuff like after I was done playing. It's like
defensive stuff for me. I knew some in college, but no, GA. And once I got way after that was when I was like, oh, that's why you guys did that. that's how that match rule works. Got it. I just knew what beat it. That's all.